Nice to see you again.
Hi, Dr. Hughes.
And thank you for coming. I saw you 2 weeks ago with your daughter Grace. She's 12, gonna be 13 this year.
Yeah.
And she's in the 7th grade.
Yes, she is.
And well, we talked at length, and I wanted to invite you here. Can you tell me from your perspective why Grace came to see me?
Yeah, Grace has been butting heads with her mom quite a bit at home.
Mm-hmm. More with her mom than with you?
Sometimes with me, but I see it mostly between them.
And you said that you feel maybe a little bit picked on or something like that. That
Yeah.
he doesn't say it out loud, but you get the vibe that he thinks that you're part of the problem is with the way that you and Grace relate to each other.
Yeah, Grace has not the same behaviors with me as she has with her father,
And that's
it's
typical.
different.
That can be very typical.
Yeah.
Have there been any stressors recently that have caused her behaviors to get worse?
Good for you.
We did have a death in the family recently.
Mm-hmm. Who was that?
That was my brother.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Was he ill? Had he been ill or?
He had been for a while, yeah, hadn't been taking good care of himself. So not completely unexpected, but it was still hard for all of us.
But she was having problems from, you said back even to elementary school, I think.
It's been a long while. Maybe things have got worse since the death of her uncle, but actually her behaviors and her being defiant with me goes back to many years ago.
At one point, you wondered if she had attention deficit disorder?
Yes, they did, and we got her evaluated.
And what did they think?
They didn't think that this is ADHD at all.
Okay. On a day-to-day basis, what would you say is the biggest problem that she has, or that you have with her?
She just doesn't listen to us, especially me.
Okay. All right. And you two are not always on the same page in terms of how to deal with Grace and to try to promote good behavior and to discipline her. Is that a fair statement?
Probably.
Yeah.
We could do better.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do a diagram, and I want you to tell me if it looks like it fits your situation, and tell me if it doesn't too. But I usually start over here with the fact that life has stress. Your guys' life, your job is stressful. And going into junior high it can be a very stressful time for kids. Stress affects our feelings. When we feel bad, we think about, well, why do I feel that way? So maybe if I'm nervous, I think people are looking at me, or if I feel sad, I start thinking things like, is life worth living? Sorts of it can get kind of extreme. And when you're thinking negative thoughts, well, what's that going to do to your feelings? Make them worse, right? So there's a cycle there. And the next step is that thoughts and feelings affect behavior. Now, I just remembered that your older daughter, you didn't really have any trouble with her.
Not at all.
Yeah.
She was the best kid.
Yeah.
She listened to everything that we asked for, and now she's off to college.
Right.
And I want the same for Grace.
Right. Well, she has a different temperament, I would say, that she has a different temperament. It's not a bad or a good thing, but kids just have different temperaments. And Grace sounds like she's a little bit stubborn. Okay.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah.
At least with me.
Okay. So stress affects thoughts and feelings and behavior. And when kids' behavior needs correcting, they're going to get corrected by the parent. And when you correct her, you're trying to help her. You're trying to teach. You're trying to coach. It's all positive stuff. But when kids are corrected, how do they usually feel?
They feel being criticized.
Yeah. That's generally, they feel criticized. They can sort of hear the negative one of my kids came home from art camp saying, my teacher hates my drawings. Why do you say that? Well, she said I could do it this way. Well, she doesn't hate your drawing. She's trying to teach you, right? But kids have a way of being, some can be very sensitive to correction, and they think they're in trouble. And when we feel criticized, we get defensive. And the two basic defenses are fight or flight. That's anger, and that's excuses why stuff is not our fault. It's somebody else's fault. We all have those. We all have those defenses, probably more than we realize. But there's a kind of a snowball effect. Stress, something happens, affects feelings, thoughts, behaviors, and anything that increases behavioral problems is going to increase the frequency of correction. You're going to call that good advice, and she's going to call it nagging.
Yes, she does.
So there's a passage from stress, thoughts, feelings, behaviors to problems with anger and problems with excuse making. And once that becomes a problem, things jump up to a new level because there's a vicious cycle. The anger represents a behavior issue. We're going to talk to her about attitude and anger, and she's not going to take it the right way. Same thing over here with excuse making and not taking personal responsibility, maybe not telling the truth once in a while. Those are behavior issues. We're going to try to talk to her about how it's better to tell the truth. And it's good advice. There's nothing wrong with that advice, but she takes it the wrong way. She's hearing a sort of a negative message about herself. There was a dad who once said, I tell my daughter, it's not like you're stupid, and all she's hearing is the last two words. So they're hearing this negative message, and it's affecting their self-esteem. This cycle is going to create conflict in the family. And conflict in the family causes more stress. I use this model all the time, but I don't want to impose it on you. I want to ask, does it look like it fits your situation?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about what to do, because it's not easy. People look at this and say, well, what are we supposed to stop correcting her? And that's not what we're going to do.
When she's misbehaving, I need to correct her behavior.
That's right. I'm going to pull two terms off of this page. Behavior, which we want to be better behavior, and conflict, which we want less of, less conflict. And what we end up with is a dilemma for the parent. The dilemma is if I push her to do something when she doesn't feel like doing it, I'm asking for conflict. But if I avoid conflict, I'm walking on eggshells, and I'm not going to ask her to do much of anything. And everybody can see why that's not going to be the right way to raise a kid. That's not going to get better behavior. All right. So we need to solve this dilemma. To do that, I break life down into two big categories. Bear with me. There's stuff that's fun and there's stuff that's work. This is chores and homework. This is phone, TV, and computer games. What's a kid going to pick between work and fun?
Oh, fun.
Okay. Thank you. But that puts you in a bad spot. Now you have to say, stop having fun. There's something that I want you to do, which is no fun whatsoever. Who wants to hear that? Not Grace, not anybody. All right. The kid who has, who takes it as good advice, maybe your older daughter, that they're less impulsive and they say, well, if I do if I do the work, can I have the fun later? Sure, right? But the kid who gets angry is going to say no, or something that basically amounts to no, or they're going to come up with an excuse like, I'll do it later.
I'm tired of that.
Yeah. Well, what I've done is I've taken this dilemma and I've dropped it down. This better behavior is the work that we're trying to get her to do. Her resistance represents potential conflict, and the dilemma is a lose-lose proposition. The first lose is I fight with her, conflict, to get her to do it. The second lose is I say, never mind, you don't have to do anything. And that sets low expectations, and it also gives her a message that you're giving up on her, which is probably the worst thing that you would never want to give that message. All right, to get out of this, everybody's tried to get out of this, and the way they try to get out of it is they say, well, what if we call the fun stuff a reward? right? So if we call the fun stuff a reward, in a reward system, you don't pay somebody before they do a job, you pay them afterwards, because they might not come back and finish. So you try this with her, I'm sure, where the work comes first. Number two, how do we know if she did the work? How would you say?
We check.
We check it.
You better check, you better inspect, because she might think the job is done and you might think it's not done. So it's better to just get up, and it can be hard, but get up and check the room, see if it's clean. And what we're hoping is she wants this reward so bad that she does this work to the best of her ability, passes the inspection, has the fun, everybody's happy, job's done. No lose-lose.
But she doesn't pass us.
Kids in this cycle don't pass this inspection. She's going to fail it, and maybe on purpose, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So she fails. What's the result? Well, we say, okay, no phone, TV, or computer. And she acts like she doesn't care.
Yes, or gets very angry.
Or gets angry. Okay, but it doesn't seem to be working. So you try this a few million times, and you come to the conclusion that rewards don't work. Maybe they work sometimes when she wants something, but if you're going to sell me a car and you say it works sometimes, I'm probably not going to want that car. All right. So you don't have a working reward system. When you come to the conclusion that rewards don't work, you're in a bad spot, because the next thing that happens is you worry about her future. And you know there's a connection between the work of the day, the homework and so forth, and getting along with people. There's a connection between the present and the future. And the thing that connects the present to the future is the formation of something called habits. We want her to develop good habits. And how would you say that habits are formed?
You repeat.
Repetition.
Repetition, that's a good answer. So, well, wait a minute, that's a problematic answer, because we don't want her to do this just when she feels like it. When she fails inspection and rewards don't seem to motivate her, and we want repetition, we're going to tell her, you need to get back in there and do it. You tell the other kid, get back in there and do it, and they will.
Yeah, I had no problem.
But with her, you tell her to get back in there and do it, and you're going to go from this failed inspection, and you're going to circle around, and you're right back over here in this lose-lose, where you can fight with her, or you can say, never mind. And this is where everybody gets stuck. Mm-hmm. And we're going to solve this. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. You care about her future. You want her to develop good habits. So you want her to take care of her business, right? You're not pushing her too hard. You want her to just do her best. And the million-dollar question is, what's going to motivate her? Good advice? She's going to take it the wrong way. Fighting with her? No. Giving up on her? No.
That's not an option.
Right, that's not an option. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what's wrong with your reward system. I'm going to show you 4 reasons that your reward system's not working. And you get these things taken care of and it's going to work. But I want to give a little background about why I'm focusing on rewards. I think of development in 3 phases, okay? A child 8 months old able to stand up by holding onto a table, you want to get the baby to cruise sideways, you put down a piece of cookie. Mm-hmm. You're not telling it to do anything, it's pure reward, right? So that's the cookie phase. As they get older, if things go perfect, which they never do, they would develop obedience. Cooperation, mm-hmm. They don't have to have a cookie, they just recognize your authority and they do what they're asked to do. Hopefully not out of a bunch of fear, right? Yeah. And then as they get even older, they don't need the cookie, they don't need mom and dad telling them what to do because they develop their conscience. Now they do the right thing, whether anybody's noticing or whether they get a cookie or not. Okay. Good advice, telling her what's good, what's not good, that's directed at her conscience. That's fine to do that, but right now you don't know how to get her to do it for a cookie.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay? Same thing with obedience. You'd like her to do what she's asked, and I would too, but we don't know how to get her to do it for a cookie yet. So that's why I'm going back to the cookie phase and go, we got to get this working the way it's supposed to. How is it supposed to work? Well, that's simple. I want this, so I do this. Anybody can understand that, right? Why is it not working for her? There's 4 things that are going on. The first one has to do with the way habits are formed. We said that they're formed by repetition. That's true, but there's another factor. And I explain it like this. If I were held hostage and somebody put a gun to my head and told me to peel potatoes, I'd peel potatoes all day. After 2 months, I peel 40,000 potatoes. That's a lot of repetition, right? I don't want to see another potato as long as I live. Why not?
I'm angry. I'm resent that.
You're forced.
Force, right. Some people say, well, you got tired of peeling potatoes. No, I didn't want to peel the first one under that circumstance, and the circumstance was force, coercion, fear. You get somebody to do something against their will, it's going to lead to resentment. Doing something against our will doesn't lead to a habit. How do you get the habit? Well, what's the opposite of doing it against your will? Making a choice, making a decision. Here's the basic problem. The way most parents think about parenting goes like this. I care about my kid's future. I want her to form good habits, so it's my job to make her do this. You hear the problem with that?
Make her.
Make her. Where does that fit? It fits over here. If you really literally mean make her do it against her will, whether she wants to do it or not, it's just going to lead to resentment, and it's not going to help her develop the habit that you want. So we want her to do it, but we want her to choose it. And we can't cheat and say, well, how do we make her choose what we want her to choose? Because that's still not a choice, right? How do we promote the choice? Well, that's where the reward is supposed to come in. I want this, so that encourages me, that promotes my doing the behavior that you want, the task. But there's this other factor. There's this other system. There's a system of choice, which is based on the reward. In other words, because I want the reward, I make the choice. So a reward system is a system of choice. The other system is a system of power and control. And just to repeat, it goes like this. I'm worried about her future. I want her to form good habits. So if I'm a good enough, smart enough parent, I'm going to make her do this. Well, that's not based on choice. That's based on I'm going to make her do it whether she wants to or not. What happens is people try to combine the two systems, and it's impossible. You can't combine a system of force and a system of rewards. It would be like me offering you a job to come work for me. And I tell you about the health benefits, the car you're going to get, the health insurance, the income, right, money, and so forth. And then you look interested, and then I lean in and I say, by the way, you have no choice. You're coming to work for me whether you want to or not. Well, that's a downer, right? That's gonna spoil the job interview. That would never happen, but it happens in family homes. Okay, we tell her it's a reward system. Do this, get this, and all she has to do with her intelligence and her temperament is to say, what if I don't want the cookie? And I would say the majority of times, parents are going to say, I don't care whether you want the cookie or not. You need to get in there and you need to do this because it's my job to make you. Well, what did we just do? We jumped the track, right? We think we're using rewards, and then people say to me all the time, I've used reward systems, they don't work. Well, you're not using a reward system if you think you have to make her do it, and she says, what if I don't want the cookie? And we say, it doesn't matter, you're going to do it anyway. You're in a control battle. You're in a power struggle. The first reason rewards don't work is the child feels that they're being forced because they say, what if I don't want the cookie? And we say, it doesn't matter, you're going to do it anyway. And the parent feels forced in a certain sense by an ideology that says, if I'm a good enough parent, I'm going to make you do it. Okay, so the child is doing the task, if they're doing it, and they're growing in resentment. And it leads to a second problem, which I call the hidden reward. It's sort of lurking here behind the TV and the cookie. The hidden reward works like this. You think you're supposed to make her do something, right?
Yeah.
If you're a good enough parent, you're going to make her do something. And the other half of your brain is telling you, or is asking you this question: can you make her do anything?
I try.
If another person is not going to do something, you see what I'm saying? Can you make another person do something if they're just not going to do it?
Not with that extreme force.
Well, you use force to have her pick up something, and who's picking up the toy? Right? It's not even her. If I'm in that hostage situation with a gun to my head peeling potatoes, I have the option of going, I'm not going to peel another potato. I've said my prayers and I'm ready to go. So you cannot make another person do something against their will, but you think you're supposed to.
Yeah, that's the feeling.
And she says to you, you can't make me. And she's right, and you're frustrated, and the ability to frustrate the parent becomes the hidden reward for the child.
Oh.
Okay? It's about control, and it's about attention. Even though it's negative, she's getting attention from you.
That's true.
If I'm looking for the hidden reward of bugging my parents, it doesn't matter what you ask me to do or what you offer, I'm going to say no. And if I do it with resentment, am I doing a good job with a good attitude? No. I'm doing a crappy job with a crappy attitude. I see that bothers you, and I'm getting a little bang out of doing that.
Yeah, she gives me headaches.
She's getting the hidden reward. And you want to be able to give her positive attention, and that's what we're working toward. The next reason that rewards don't work is the very fact that people give up. They think they've tried using rewards. They've decided without a doubt the rewards don't work, so what difference does it make? You walk away and the child gets the cookie, right?
That's right.
The child gets the reward. They get something, they get sneaky, they get up and they get it in the middle of the night. And then the last step, which luckily you guys aren't dealing with, but I deal with all the time because I work in an inpatient psychiatric hospital. Conflict makes parents tired. You lay down, you take a 2-minute nap, you get up and she's eating cookies in front of the TV. And you ask yourself, what's she going to do? What's this girl going to do if I turn off the TV and take the box of cookies?
Get angry.
Angry child and scared parent, because some kids are going to say stuff that's pretty scary. And I don't want to hear scary stuff, and I don't want her disrupting the house or the neighbors or the police being called and so forth. So I'm going to leave her alone. And you got no system. The way out of this whole thing begins with realizing the goal is her future. We want her to have a happy future. We want her to develop good habits. So we want her to do the job, but we want her to choose it. How can we promote the choice? With a real reward system, not a counterfeit. The counterfeit reward system says you're going to do it whether you want to or not. Let's break down the job into 3 pieces. I want her to do a good quality job. I want her to have a good attitude, and I want her to do it on time. You've seen her do a good job with a good attitude and get something done on time, right?
Yeah, when she wants.
Yeah, that's exactly right. When she makes a choice. You've also seen her do a bad job with a bad attitude, and that's when she's doing it against her will, and we can stop that. The way we stop that is if I see her doing something against her will. If a child is doing something slow and bad attitude, parents are going to say, speed it up and lose the attitude. And they have no control over either one of those. If I see a kid doing something slow and bad attitude, I'm going to say, stop. I don't want you to do it. Not like that. And I'm not tricking them. It's not a joke. It's not a game. It's not that I'm trying to trick them into doing it. I really don't want them to do it against their will because I know it only leads to resentment. I was talking with a kid in the hospital on the weekend. She wasn't my patient, and she came with me and sat down, but she said to me, what would you have done if I refused to see you? And I said, I would have seen my next patient. She says, that's what I thought. I just had to know. They don't want to be forced. the way we fix this, and with a real reward system, is, let's take an example. I want her to work on cleaning up her room for 10 minutes. She says, I can't get this mess clean in 10 minutes, and I say, I didn't say get it clean. Just do your best for 10 minutes. I'll be back.
Oh, she will not do that.
I know, but if she did, she would pass, and she would be rewarded, and she would be praised. Now we're given positive instead of negative attention. Mm-hmm. But if I come back in 10 minutes and it's a fail, she hasn't lifted a finger, do I want to say to her, get back in there and do it against your will, extending the time limit that I said there was, getting her to do it against her will, and watch her do a slow, sloppy job, and I'm kind of burning up about how she's doing it that way? The answer is no. I don't want her to do it. I don't want to use force because I know where it leads, to resentment. No force. If I can feel that sense of peace, what do you think happens to the hidden reward of her bugging you?
She will not get it.
It's gone. It's gone. Does she get the cookie? Not on your life, right? The kid who says, what if I don't care about the cookie? You don't engage in a fight with them. I'm drawing a big padlock on here. The kid who says, what if I don't want the cookie? You don't get into a face-off with them. You go, you lock the cookies up. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because the same kid who says they don't care is going to steal one in about 2 minutes. I'm writing on the padlock, control the reward, not the child. Control the reward, not the child. So I'm not using force. I'm not happy with her. Some parents say, they say, I do this. I act like I don't care. Why act like you don't care? You do care. If you didn't care, you'd say, have some cookies, right? You do care, but you don't want to use force, and you don't want to develop resentment. So you're at peace with yourself. You're disappointed, but that's not the hidden reward. The hidden reward is a constant back and forth. It's a power struggle. So she's not going to get the cookie. She's going to be angry. Why would she be angry?
Because she didn't get the cookie.
Right. The point being, parents are convinced that they don't care, right? Well, if she doesn't care, what's she angry about? All right, so we got to deal with an angry child. But why are they angry? Because the rewards matter. Well, that's great. I proved that rewards matter, but now what do I do with an angry kid? Well, when a kid is angry, there's 3 levels they can go to. They can complain, they can get disrespectful, or or they can get dangerous. Well, danger to self, danger to others, or severe property destruction, those are criteria, if it's serious, those are criteria for hospitalization. I hope it doesn't get there. You hope it doesn't get there. But, if a kid is saying, if I can't have my cell phone, I'm going to kill myself. I'd take that seriously if they sound serious, but I wouldn't give them their phone. I would say, well, then we need to get you to the hospital. But we don't want to get down there. Let's start up here with, what do we do with an angry child who's just complaining and saying, what a mean mom you are? In order to do that, I'm going to take this page, which is full of theory, and turn it into a schedule. I'm going to break the day down into 3 parts. In the morning, the expectation would be get up, dress, make your bed, whatever you want her to do. If you don't want to make her bed, I don't care. You inspect, and if she passes, okay, maybe she gets to bring her cell phone to school, maybe she gets to have Starbucks once a week, whatever, okay? This part of the day is school. Well, and by the way, for the kid who's not going to school, I still wouldn't fight with them. I would be calling the school, I might be calling law enforcement or a truancy officer, but I wouldn't ever be engaged in fighting with a kid. Little enough kid, you can pick them up, put them in the car, and say, you can dress on the way to school if you want to. I had one kid with autism who didn't care, and he went to school in his pajamas, and we had to say, well, what do we do about that? And finally the teacher said, well, kids in their pajamas don't go to recess. And he decided that he wanted to get dressed for school. So sometimes you got to be a little creative. Okay, school I'm going to leave out for right now. So what grade is she in?
She's in 7th grade.
Okay, so if we do 10 minutes per grade, we would say, I want her to come home and study for 70 minutes. She says, I don't have any homework today. I say, you can review, you can read ahead, you can study for a test, right? But I want to see you studying something that looks academic. If that has to be at the dinner table, because she's got a bunch of stuff in her room that is distracting, and you don't know what she's doing when she's in there, I'd move her to the dinner table. If she puts in the time, she doesn't have to get everything right. It's not about getting everything finished. Some parents will come along at inspection time and say, okay, now you've got to finish. No, you're 70 minutes. I want her to get used to putting in the time every day. That's going to make her a success. If she passes the inspection, she's rewarded and she's praised. But if she says, I hate this system and I wish you never went to see that doctor, I'm not going to study, I wouldn't turn this into 70 more minutes and then 70 more minutes, right? It's over. It's her grade. She just doesn't get the phone, TV, computer, and the cookie. She can tell her teacher why it's not done, but all you're doing is limiting the reward. She's not going to earn those things. She's going to get angry, and she's going to say, what a mean mom you are. Those are hooks. Those are hooks that she's trying to get you to engage in that hidden reward. And instead of telling her it's her own fault, which would be true, you say to her, hang in there, sweetheart. Don't say it like that. Hang in there. What do I mean? Well, let's go back over here. Here she hears the word no. She's angry. And I say, look, dinner's cooking. You can smell dinner cooking. After dinner, you have 1.5 little chores to do. And if you do those chores, you will pass this inspection, and you can have everything back. I'm not taking it away for 2 weeks. I took it away for 1.5 hours. But if you want to be stubborn and you want to shoot yourself in the foot, okay, that's kind of a bummer, but because we have plans for the weekend. I'll get to that in a second. But you just don't get the rewards this evening. But tomorrow's a brand new day. So it's a sort of a positive approach. What I said about the week and the weekend is the whole thing sort of repeats itself. I want her to have a good week, not perfect, but better. Good week. We have a sort of end of the week discussion about how good was the week and what difference does it make. Well, the weekend is here, and there was a dance that she wanted to go to, and I want her to go, but not if she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing during the week. It never says time to argue with her on here. It tells me when she's going to pick a fight, when she hears the word no, and I'm going to be positive and tell her, hang in there. Well, what if she escalates to disrespect? That ever happen?
It does happen very often with me.
Okay. We have to set limits on disrespect. That's 1, 2, 3. 1 warning, don't talk to me that way. You do it again, that's 2. You do it a 3rd time, I'm telling you to go to your room. Well, you say that's where she spends all of her time anyway. Yeah, but she's not going to have her phone right now, is she? Because she didn't earn it. Parents sometimes will say, I'm not going to be able to get the phone away from them. Well, I wouldn't fight with her, but she's going to go to sleep sooner or later. And my way of looking at it is, if I can't control it as a parent, you're not going to own it. Because I think raising kids is more important than owning a bunch of electronics. But most people are going to be able to put the electronics where the child can't get a hold of it. Okay, so I tell her to go to her room, 10 minutes of calm. So if she's yelling for 10 minutes, then she just turned this into 20. I'm not increasing the time, she's increasing the time herself. If she calms down, she comes out, she has dinner, does her chores, she's back on the winning track. What if she sulks in there the rest of the evening? She hears the word no, and instead of coming out, having dinner, say she comes out down here. I'll still give her some food, not dessert, right? And somebody else had to do her chore. You say, well, what's that teach her? What that teaches her is that if you don't do your job, somebody's going to take your job and they're going to take your paycheck.
Yeah.
Some people feel like I have to do my job, so she has to do her job. Doesn't sound like you like your job very much, frankly. And you could look at it differently. You should want to do your job. All right. Any questions? That really kind of wraps it up. If she pushes it all the way down here, says something that really scares you, I would take it seriously. There was a dad called me up a while back and said his daughter had been in the hospital and she was engaged in cutting on herself. She was doing better, but he called me up saying, "Oh, I really blew it." I said, "What happened?" Well, we were arguing about something and she was making comments about maybe cutting on herself, and he said, "Well, maybe you need to go back to the hospital." And she smiles and goes, "Maybe I do." And he just wished he hadn't stepped in that that provocation. I asked him, "Where are you guys in your schedule?" He said, "We're about to have dinner." I said, "Go have dinner. Call me back after dinner if you need to." He didn't call back because by not engaging in it, nobody really wanted her to go to the hospital, right? They got back on track. So every single threat about hurting yourself doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to run you to the hospital, but I'm going to listen. I'm going to take it seriously. So I think that about wraps everything up that I wanted to talk about. Do you have any questions about how any of this might work? It's meant to get you guys on the same page.
Yeah, I think this kind of conversation that we had right now gave me a guideline how to manage her behaviors, because sometimes as a parent there's so many things that we need to take care of every day, and you don't have that luxury of the time to sit and make sure that she's doing her work that she's supposed to do. And my only concern would have been, like, what if she continues not completing her homeworks for a week? I mean, those are the concerns that I have.
Sure.
I will hear from school, it might affect her grades. I want her to go to a good college.
Right. I want her to do her homework too, but what I've seen is the extreme, and the extreme is parents end up doing homework almost for their kids, sometimes literally doing it. I think there was a kind of a scandal about kids getting into colleges that they didn't deserve, and so I think you stick with it. Another answer to your question could be, well, how long do you want to stick with this before you go back to fighting with her? And to me, the answer would be not ever.
Yeah, I think less conflict at this point is a priority for our household, and it's something that we don't want to see more of it in the future. We want her to develop habits,
right,
that she can become an independent person.
Do you believe her? Is she going to be able to step back and not engage in the power struggles?
I do see that it'll be difficult not to get into a standoff.
Yeah.
But I think we can give this a try.
Excellent.
I'll do
All
my
right,
best.
I'm going to give you guys a copy of my book because it's full of kind of ideas about how to implement a schedule. It's called Raise Winning Kids Without a Fight through Johns Hopkins University Press. So that's my present to you guys.
Oh,
So
thank you, Dr. Hughes, and thank you for the session.
you will keep these, I hope. It's always a bad sign to me when people walk away without wanting to take these. So,
I was going to ask
okay, nice to see you again.
Very nice
Very
to
nice
see
meeting
you.
you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good day.